March 28th at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. See you at the book sale.
Why do I use FS? Service and dependability. That's my son Corey, he runs a trucking business. That's my son Ty, he runs a farming business. We've been working with FS probably for around 40 years. We deliver just-in-time freight. In other words, we have to be able to depend on our suppliers.
With FS, I can always count on the barrel's always full.
I think the service and the dependability is why we're still with FS.
FS, the local answer to your world of needs.
Stivers Ford Lincoln is proud to sponsor KCCI Weather, and we want you to be downright proud to drive a Stivers Ford on the Milwaukee side of West Des Moines.
All right, no sports. Sorry, Andy. Let's go back to Live Super Doppler HD. We kind of regrouped here, reset the situation for you. We want to report now that southern Polk County, from the Des Moines area south, including Norwalk and into the northern half of Warren County, is going to be expanded into this tornado warning. So we've had these on and off touchdowns, as we mentioned, north of Winterset. And this storm, as we speak, is starting to move into the vicinity of Badger Creek State Park. And it's going to be tracking to the north, and it's actually on a path right now, which is going to take it fairly close to the Des Moines airport if it was to hold together. We are getting reports in from law enforcement now in Madison County that some outbuildings, when we first started to see this, northwest of Winterset, some outbuildings were damaged by this particular cell. And it is moving now right over 169, just a little east of 169. The greatest threat for a tornado is right in here, just to the south of the Badger Creek State Park. We'll put the radar into motion, and you can watch this motion. As we mentioned, it is going to be carrying it up toward the Norwalk and airport area. So if you're in the northeastern section of Madison County and then eventually on over into Polk County, especially that area from the central part of the city down through the airport, Norwalk, keep an eye out, because this particular cell has been cycling on and off and producing some tornadoes. Now, the cell to the south, which produced numerous touchdowns in the vicinity of Creston, that storm is going to be lifting to the northeast. It's already well clear of Creston now, but continuing to have some touchdowns south. The Norwalk, Indianola area as well. We'll do a lapse on the radar, and you can watch the motion of that cell as it's starting to fire up a little bit and regroup. The cell to the north around Madison County, very strong radar observed circulation, which passed over Highway 169 just a bit ago, and is now, as we mentioned, very close to the Badger Creek State Park. So if there's a tornado located in this particular storm right now, it continues to be right in here. So let's label some of the particular streets in this region. So there's 140th. We talked about that when it was on the other side of Highway 169. And you can see it's rapidly trying to get new development down to the south. So what's kind of happening here is the air is actually circulating in and then bending back around, and we're getting new cell growth to the south. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that in case this particular storm would want to start taking more of a path into the southern area around Bennington. So we'll keep an eye out on that. If you're in this vicinity, Badger Creek on down toward 140th, in fact, we'll expand it down south just a little bit more. And go ahead and we'll try to do a storm track on here in just a second.
There.
We'll narrow that down since this is pretty narrow. So there's kind of a potential track heading up toward Cumming, Rilla, maybe a little more northeast. We'll kind of keep an eye on that. I can lapse this, kind of see how that tracks with the box with the new development to the south. You can see it's eventually going to be crossing over Interstate 35 here in about 12 to 15 minutes or so. So if you're in that area now of eastern Madison County, including around Cumming, the Polo Point area, Boonville, on over toward Norwalk, you should be focusing your attention to the west as this particular cell approaches. Numerous reports of confirmed tornadoes now on this cell as it was getting ready to cross over Highway 169, and there has been some reports of some debris circulating around in the air. Second tornado warning, that is the cell to the south. And that is the one that has moved now northeast of the Creston area. And this particular storm continues with a tornado warning as well. It has been the more ill-defined storm with several brief reports of touchdowns. Tornadoes in this area, most likely, again, nothing well-defined on radar, would be located north of Lorimor and to the east of Maxburg, kind of tracking south of Winterset more toward East Peru and over toward St. Charles. Let's reset the situation just a bit. We'll zoom all the way out, take a look at some other cells developing out to the west. These cells to the west probably are more hail and wind producers. Up to the north, we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning, which includes the area around Clarion, Belmont, over toward Hampton and Sheffield. As we work our way back south, again, the greatest storm potential is that storm which is northeast now of Winterset, just south of the metro area. If you're in the Grimes area, Ankeny, Adel, you have a severe thunderstorm warning. The tornado threat is to your south, but if you're in the area from downtown Des Moines, south toward the airport to Norwalk, you're in the tornado warning area. The storm is still still west of Interstate 35 to the northeast now of Winterset, and it's moving fairly rapidly to the northeast at around 50 miles an hour. It's passing just to the south of the Badger Creek State Park, south of Boonville, Waukee, very heavy rain, probably getting some pea-sized hail. No new reports of tornadoes coming in the last few minutes. Last confirmed report of a tornado was about 6:23, so about 10 minutes ago, and that was the damage which was occurring pretty much due north of Winterset. Continuing to watch strong circulation in this storm, measuring radar wind shearing here, 99, 30, about 105 knots, so that's about 125 miles an hour right now in the vicinity around Badger Creek State Park. So that is certainly a force to be reckoned with. Even if you're not getting the tornadoes, certainly the potential for some very strong winds. Now kind of box out the area of greatest threat right now. And that is from Francesca's house over toward Badger Creek on to the south. This storm, as we lapse it, you'll watch, it's going to be working its way up toward Cumming, Polo Point, even around the Mill Civic Parkway, Grand Avenue exits. You're going to be looking at some very heavy rain and potentially some hail. The hail area in the storm is right here, and the tornado threat is located just a little bit more to the south. If anybody else is watching our our airport camera, if you see anything definitive, please let us know. Eric Hansen's on the phone. Where's Eric, and what's he seeing? West Des Moines, Eric, do you see anything visually from where you're at?
Yeah, John, I am in West Des Moines, in the area generally near Valley Stadium, kind of looking to the south and to the southwest. Quite a bit of lightning show in the southwest as we look at that area that you've been pointing out on the radar. At this point, West Des Moines sirens went off about 10 minutes ago. Then they went quiet for a couple of minutes, and now they're back on. At this point, we've had big drops of rain. It seems like the storm is headed this way. At the same point, no wind at this point. Right now, it is very quiet out there, except for the lightning flashing in the distance and the thunder rumbling toward the southwest. At this point, like I said, in West Des Moines, nothing yet, but it sounds like it's kind of headed this way. So we'll keep an eye on things and let you know.
All right, great news. Eric Hansen keeping an eye on things. Curtis Gertz also out driving south to try to get a visual on this thing as it approaches Interstate 35. No new reports of tornadoes in the last minute, so that is some good news, but the storm is continuing to be quite intense just south of the Badger Creek State Park area. The most likely location for a tornado is right where I'm going to be zooming in as soon as the computer catches up. There we go. We mentioned the Francesca's house area. That storm is going to pass right over it, and where you see the a little spot of a little bit of purple in there. That's probably some of the debris that is still lofted around this storm as it's been tracking on and off on the ground here for a bit. Let's identify the roadways. Here is Vintage Avenue. And as this approaches Interstate 35, it's going to be tracking between about 140th and 120th Street. You can see from Interstate 35 over here, this particular storm now is right at about 2.5 miles from the interstate. So we should have it moving over I-35 near the Cumming exit within the next 3 to 4 minutes or so, if it's continuing to move at about 50 miles an hour. All right, so tornado warnings continuing for the northeast section of Madison County on into the northern half of Warren County and about the southern half of Polk County. As we move to the south, we'll double check what's going on down there. This storm is much less defined right now. So I'm looking at another monitor, not seeing as much wind shear there. The storm in Madison County still looking in the neighborhood of about 100 miles an hour or so of wind, but not as much down to the south now. But the tornado warning does officially continue in this area of southern Madison County into southwestern Warren County. And then as I zoom up to the north here, you are looking at the second tornado warning, so you kind of adjoin based on which storm we're looking at. And still seeing strong circulation now just south of Boonville and just 2 or 3 miles to the west of Interstate 35. Put the radar back into motion, and you can watch that development right here as it is rapidly tracking to the northeast. And what's happening is the wind is circulating up and then bending into that notch there, and that's where we're getting the rotation that's been producing the tornadoes on and off as it started west-northwest of Winterset. So can't say for sure we've had a tornado that's been on the ground continuously, more so one that's been cycling back and forth, but right now is very close to getting ready to cross over Interstate 35 near the Cumming exit, probably going to cross over as we mentioned in the next 2 or 3 minutes, and it's going to be pretty close to the town of Cumming. So you can see it's just now lifted to the north of this Francesca's house, and the Cumming exit is going to be next. We're looking at about 1.9 miles just to the west of Cumming. Put the radar into motion, and you can watch that track, which I mentioned about 15 minutes ago, a track which will take it close to the Des Moines airport. So hopefully our airport camera will be able to give us some additional information as it gets a little bit closer. The only good news in all this is that we don't have any reports of a tornado in about the last 10 minutes or so. Are those pictures actually in, ready to show? We are getting some viewer photos in now that were taken just to the east of Creston, and you can see we mentioned this kind of elephant trunk shape. That's what we were trying to pick out on the radar. You can see how tiny that is as the main circulation was broke well off from the parent storm, which was located several miles to the north, but you can't see it is making ground contact there. Again, this was taken near Afton. Looks like the photo is probably somewhere between, I can recognize the name, Rich Bryson from Afton School, one of our SchoolNet partners down there. Two things are pretty definitive from this photo. One, you can see how high the clouds are, and the higher that cloud base, the tougher it is for those tornadoes to reach all the way down to the ground. So you can kind of see that it's a very long, strung-out tornado, but we were able to pick up debris even 60 miles away from the radar. So definitely was causing damage on the ground.